But I want to move on to the next topic, talking about one MVP with multiple scoring titles to another MVP with a scoring title, Joel Embiid. Now this one, it's more about what is the conversation with Joel Embiid, like historically. Embiid was a guy entered the NBA. I think people forget because Wiggins had the mixtapes and all that. Before the foot injury, Embiid was going to be the number one pick. He was the best prospect on that Kansas team, and I've gone back and I watched the tape, and part of it is I think Wiggins, because people had this hype and narrative what he was in high school. People forget his college tape he had upside. I think he had a lot of upside, obviously, but it's not as clean as you would think it is. He went number one, but you could have argued a few guys ahead of him. And Embiid was one of those players I thought was a better prospect when you watch them play the same game. Has the foot injuries, comes into the league, averages 20 points per game. After 2 years, he misses with injury. His first season, only plays 31 games, but 20 points per game. 8 rebounds per game, over 2 blocks per game, close to 3, in 25 minutes per game. And we saw his ability to stretch the floor, the footwork that got him compared to Hakeem Olajuwon. And you saw oh, this could be the guy. And then year 2, All-Star, All-NBA second team. Year 3, finishes top 10 in MVP voting, All-NBA second team. Year 4, All-Star once again. Year 5, finishes second in MVP voting, averages close to 29 points per game, 11 rebounds, All-NBA second team. And then the year after that, leads the league in scoring at nearly 31 points per game, second in MVP voting, All-NBA second team. And then in the year after that, averages over 33 points per game, wins MVP, All-NBA first team, obviously. I think he probably would have won MVP if he played the full season at the rate he was the year after his MVP season, because he was averaging 34.7 points per game in 33.6 minutes per game. It was also his best passing season. He was seeing the floor really well. He was averaging close to 3 stocks per game. It was just it was on pace to be an all-time season. And, that's not to say that, he didn't have all-time great seasons. He had back-to-back 30-point-per-game seasons before, 2024. And he's the first center since Bob McAdoo and Kareem. Oh my God, can't I speak? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that averaged, over 30 points a game as a big man. Hakeem didn't do that. David Robinson didn't do that. Shaquille O'Neal didn't even do that. Embiid did. And that can't be taken away from him. But I also think there's another side to it, the way he draws fouls. It's common. High-level scorers draw fouls unless you're Steph Curry. It happens. Jordan did it. Kobe did it. Harden did it. Giannis does it now. SGA does it now. Luka does it. There are a bunch of examples. But I do understand this is something that also kind of annoyed me watching him, was he does flop a lot for somebody that's 7 feet tall and 280 pounds. And that has to be factored in. I get it. It's how the game's called. You can't blame him for taking advantage of what's in front of him on the court. Please don't take that out of context, because the refs are going to call it to get back on track. I think that you can be mad at him for it, but you should be more mad at the refs. He does hold the NBA record for career free throw makes per game. That fits in with the jokes. But I always said, and this is true with everyone that draws a lot of fouls, what annoys me the most about the foul baiting and things like that is not that they do it. It's the fact that it does take away from what makes him special. And Embiid was and still is to an extent a special player. The footwork, the handle, the ability to have touch around the basket, face up, hit jumpers. He's one of the best space creators in terms of getting separation and creating looks without dribbling I've ever seen. He's up there with guys like Carmelo Anthony in that regard, like the ability to use jab steps, half steps, like half spins, things like that. I've always found like that part. Like if you watch the highlights, like it's very entertaining. But like when you watch the games, like you do see him flop and flail, and you can feel however you want about that. But when you look at Embiid, you see he has an MVP. He has multiple All NBA selections, 4 second team All NBA selections, 1 first team All NBA selection. He has multiple All Defense selections. He has 2 scoring titles and an MVP. He is a lock to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like that really isn't up for debate, in my opinion. Like it's very clear that he's going when he retires and when he's eligible, he will get it on the first ballot because he's an MVP, because he's a multi-time scoring champ, and a multi-time All NBA, multi-time All Defense. Like that's like there are guys who have gotten like way less than him that have gotten in. I do think he is an all-time great big man. Where he ranks is interesting because like the playoff stuff does matter in an all-time talk, and the fact that he has not made a conference finals, and I know people make jokes. I've made jokes about it. Like, I do think that does kind of matter when you, like, compare him to David Robinson. You compare him to, like, Shaquille O'Neal, Nikola Jokic, Hakeem Olajuwon. Like, that does matter. And it does kind of remind me a bit of the Kevin Durant conversation, where I think, like, the criticism of Embiid is more about like his placement like within his tier than it is about like is he like an all-time great or not. Now, would I put Embiid among like upper echelon all-time greats? Probably not. We'll see how the next few years go, but like it does feel like the injuries are catching up and he is starting to regress. He's not gonna have like absurd like counting stats like in terms of like career totals. But like his career averages are going to be absurd. He's already at like 27.7 points per game for his career, and I don't think it's going to go down too much depending on how his career goes. We'll see. But I think he's going to be somebody like, and I'm not comparing him like straight up to guys like Charles Barkley because like Barkley made a finals, he's made conference finals. But I feel like it's gonna be like that. Like he's gonna be the MVP that like kind of gets lost to time a bit. Like I feel like Kevin Garnett's another MVP that kind of gets lost to time. Now I don't think he's better than either of those guys all time, because of the fact he has not made a finals, and part of it's not on him. Like he has gotten hurt during playoff runs, but part of it is on him. And like again, like it doesn't matter. It kind of does, but like for the most part, like when you ask, like, is he like a Hall of Fame or a first ballot guy? I don't think it matters in that conversation because he's an MVP and a multi-time scoring champ. Like that alone should get him in the Hall of Fame. I mentioned it. I should have mentioned this in the Kevin Durant part of this video or podcast. Like for me, it's like Kevin Durant could have retired at 23 and been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like he had 3 scoring titles. Like he was that good. And I think Embiid could retire right now and be a first ballot Hall of Famer based off what he's done. Will he? Probably not. Especially with his content, with the not context of. Wait, I'm babbling. However, I think it does matter in the context of like what tier he's in, but like in terms of what I think like is he a Hall of Famer or not? Like that's not up for debate. Like is he a first ballot guy? That's not up for debate. Is he one of the best players of his generation? That's not up for debate either. Like he is historically great from a production standpoint at his peak. he is one of the most productive bigs we have ever seen. And that can't be taken away from him. Even in this era, where scoring is up, like, even compared to past eras, he is historically great. And like, even though I think guys from past eras would put up similar numbers to what he did at his peak in this era, it does take away the fact that Embiid did do it in this era. But the conversation does somewhat change when you look at like the playoff success or lack of playoff success, like the overall counting numbers, like his longevity, things like that. The best way I would describe Embiid is he's an all-time great talent that underachieved. Like a diet version of like Shaquille O'Neal's career, where like obviously Shaq has like the rings, the Finals MVPs, but you always felt like there could be more if he was able to stay healthy. No, Embiid is like that without the ring or rings and Finals MVPs. Or conference finals appearances, but that's besides the point. Like it does like give out that similar vibe. But it's like he was a great player, obviously, but like there should have been more. Like you should have accomplished more. And we bring up like how it is disappointing because we should have gotten more. And that is, a criticism of him, but it's also a compliment in a way because it speaks to how good he is. Because if you just look at his career, it's a great career. But because of how great he showed he could be, the expectations are higher. And the fact that he didn't reach that makes it disappointing. But it also is a compliment in a way. Because it goes to show you how talented this player really was.